Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob Potsner. I'm an attorney from Danbury, Connecticut. And I have with me today a lady who's been on my show many times and is one of my favorite guests, but don't tell anybody. And we're going to talk a little bit about today about the phenomenal organization called Ann's Place. And my guest, Shannon Cobb, who is the executive director, is going to first of all introduce herself, and then we're going to get into what Ann's Place does, and then talk about one of the great fundraisers that we enjoy, the Run for the Sun. And let me introduce to you Shannon Cobb. Hello, Shannon.
Hello, Bob. Thanks for having me on again.
It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Shannon, why don't you give us like about a minute background of who you are and a little bit about Ann's Place, and then we'll get into the questions I have for you today.
Oh, wonderful. So I am the CEO and president of Ann's Place, and I have the honor of working with hundreds of volunteers and my staff to put programs on for people facing cancer, support that they can't get anywhere else. We have 30 different support groups. We have one-on-one counseling and a ton of wellness programs, all to help them through this really difficult time in their life. And all of it is provided free of charge thanks to donors in the community and our special events.
Great. And if you've noticed carefully, I've changed my outfit, haven't I? And
wow.
You're going to see here. What is this you see? What is that?
I love it. That's our 5K shirt. From
That's
when
right.
you did you run it or did you walk it, Bob?
Oh, I always walk it. If I were as young as you are, I would run it. You're 20. You just turned 29, didn't you? No,
yep. Still.
It's still right. Our law firm has always been involved as a contributor to Ann's Place, which we have great belief in, and you do a phenomenal job. Anytime I mention Ann's Place to anyone in the community, they already know who it is. Shannon was on a show we did recently about the Appalachian work done by a church she's involved with. And I saw about 5-10 people came up to her when I went to the church service to discuss what the kids had done in building their houses in Appalachia. Everyone gave her a hug and talked about Ann's Place. So it's my honor to have you on the show today. Shannon, you were a little bit, you could be a little more explicit about what Ann's Place does. I know you're very humble, but tell us a little bit more about, first of all, how Ann's Place began.
Well, back in the late 80s, a woman by the name of Ann Olson passed away of cancer. She was in her 30s, and her friends and family wanted to do something. So they started the Ann Olson Foundation, the endowment, and they raised money to provide services and support financially for people facing cancer, because it can be a huge financial burden on a family when someone gets cancer. And then across town, we had two social workers who recognized that there was no psychosocial care for people facing cancer. They'd go to the hospital, they'd get their body taken care of, but their mental health services were lacking. And so Pat Bragdon and Mary Burke started up I Can, which supported people facing cancer with support groups and counseling. And then they eventually, over time, they also added in things like yoga, Tai Chi, art therapy. And these two organizations merged together, and they became Ann's Place, Home of I Can, and then it later shortened to just Ann's Place. And we provide all of those services to this day and lots more. So we're still doing financial aid for people facing cancer. We're still doing the one-on-one counseling, support groups. We've diversified our programs now, so they're really meeting the needs of not just the person with cancer, but also their entire network of support. So their friends that are walking with them can come to get services from us, and of course their family, their children, because it's really emotional. It can be very heartbreaking when a loved one has cancer, and you never want to get in the way of them getting services, but you also need services yourself. So we provide services for everybody, and we don't charge anything. It's completely free of charge. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to offer the community.
I've been to your facility as a visitor a couple of times, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Even though you had a little bit of a plumbing problem at one point in time, a little flooding, which you guys have fixed up. There's the beautiful gardens that you have, and there's all kinds of activities that you have for young kids who are families involved. And And it's just quite a great service. It's a phenomenal organization. Um, Tell me a little bit about, if you could name a couple of the services that you guys provide. I want to get that back up before we get into the rate. Name just a couple of things that you think you have that are pretty exciting for you if you're going through a very tough time.
So the things that are sort of really important here at Ann's Place, I think that the big one is when somebody is faced with cancer, being able to meet with other people that are going through a similar issue than they are. The 30 different support groups, it sounds nice, but when you really start diving into what those support groups are, it becomes a lot more meaningful. So if you have breast cancer, for example, being able to go in with another group of women that have breast cancer is really critical. It's not just emotional support and meeting with people who've been there and done that, but also knowing like what comes next. Like how was that for you? So it's really a nice way to kind of be a little bit more assured that you know what's coming. We also have support groups for people that are the caregivers. We have support groups for people who may be younger, are facing cancer in their 20s and 30s, and they have a very different experience than someone who is older and facing cancer. So we have special groups just for them. And then we have a group for parents, because when you have children and you're trying to juggle your cancer treatments and giving your children an experience of childhood that you want to be as normal as possible, there are special challenges that you want to have in your own group. And so I'd say the support groups are some of our most critical. And then we supplement those with one-on-one counseling. And for people who maybe the group setting isn't as good for them at that point in their life. And then we also have a phenomenal art therapy program. So that one is also quite nice.
And Shannon, we're going to come back to those because I want to get into the race and the fundraising part of what you do. So make sure we get into that particular issue. So let's talk about. And before I do that, though, you serve people not only in Danbury but also other parts of the state and New York. Is that correct?
Yes. So we can serve people throughout Connecticut and New York. Either they come to our office in Danbury. We also have a Waterbury location that we meet at the Harold Lee Burr Cancer Center, and up in New Milford as well, at the Newmont Hospital there. We also have online services, and many of our clients actually prefer to be online because they're not feeling well. It's easier for them just to Zoom into their meetings. We even have rearranged our rooms so that we have cameras that can be there that give them a really good experience, even in yoga or Tai Chi, so they could do their movement programs even from home. So we've really tried to adapt for that scenario.
Let's get to the road race. The road race, not race, I shouldn't call it a race, but the road run is on August 21, starting at 5:30 p.m. and it lasts till about 9 o'clock. Am I correct?
Well, the actual walking and running is only an hour. If you're walking, it'll be an hour. I think the fastest people that get in, it's 14 minutes. I think it's so fast. And then the mosiers and the walkers, it will be much slower. But what happens after the race is the party. The Amber Room just does a phenomenal job putting on this whole cookout. We have a DJ. People bring their blankets, their chairs, and they just have a great time. So it's hard kind of pushing people away at the end of the night because they're just having too good a time. But yeah, it's very meaningful. Many of the people come, they bring their whole families, their loved ones, especially if they're walking in memory of somebody or in support. We have many people that walk in support of someone at their office that is fighting cancer. And it's just a great way to help them feel loved and supported. And it's a beautiful day.
It's a very fun event. And actually, if you looked at the beginning, my roll into my show, there are two ladies, I won't mention who they are, but two ladies who are pictured in the roll into my show, who are cancer survivors. And we usually get about 15, 20 people from my office to get participate, and it is a fun event. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you coincidentally, I spoke to a client of mine yesterday I haven't seen in a while, and he said, "I guess I'll see you pretty soon." I said, "Yeah, August 21st at the Amber Room to start the race," and he said, "Yes, I'll be there too." So I think he might be someone on your board actually, but. Tell us a little bit about how big a crowd do you get?
Well, it maxes out 600 runners and walkers, and that's mainly because of parking. We take over the entire parking lot at Amber Room, the church across the street, and then we park cars in the church down the street, and then creatively on grass and anywhere we can put a car. So please, if you're coming, please come early and carpool, because the more carpooling we have, the more people we can fit in. But yeah, 600 people. And then we also have friends and family that can come just for the dinner. So if they don't want to walk, they can just pay $20 and get the party at the end.
I usually try to get there before 6. The police kind of block off the road when you get to the area. But there's so much fun. And the shirt I'm wearing today, every year, the participants get a shirt. And then some teams, we call them teams, will get their own shirts. My firm has had different shirts every couple of years. I couldn't find my official Collins Hannafin shirt, so I had to wear this today. But it's just a real fun event, and you see people who you haven't seen in a while, and there's conversations and stories, and then you get greeted. They have the most amazing greeter when you get to the event. Who is that greeter when you get to the event, Shannon Cobb?
Well, I don't know who greeted you, Bob. We have almost 100 volunteers that help us with the event.
Well, there's one lady who has a camera who takes pictures of people. That might be Shannon Cobb.
Oh, that's me.
That's you. That's what I meant. I was referring to you.
I just wait at the door for you, Bob.
Well, that is true. I'm sure that's true. Now, this is your big fundraiser, or is it your big fundraiser, or is the festival the bigger fundraiser?
The Festival of Trees is our biggest fundraiser. As far as attendees, this is our second largest, and it's our third largest in money raised. So we actually have 6 events a year, and our 6 events a year raise more than half of our revenue for the year. So Ann's Place survives on donations. We don't have really government funding, and we don't take insurance. It's all provided by people in the community giving money to Ann's Place so that we can have these services for our loved ones in the community. And so it's a beautiful thing when we have these events and see such an outpouring of people coming out to them. But yes, it's one of our larger events. $110,000 this year was our highest ever. Last year, I mean. And so we're hoping to make as much as last year this year. And we've got our fingers crossed that people will start teams up. We have, I think, 12 or 14 teams already. And our goal is to have over 20 teams doing fundraising and competing for those top prizes of fundraising stars for Ann's Place.
You know, it also is cool as you walk down we leave from the Amber Room and take a right and go down the hill and around to the PAL area, essentially, Danbury PAL and back. That's generally the vicinity where you go. And there are people lining the streets. It's almost like you're in a real marathon or something. There are people on the streets waving, passing out. I mean, it's just a very cool event that occurs. Before I get to your other fundraising activities for your people you service, is there anything more you want to talk about in terms of the race or the run that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I think what I'd like to cover, Bob, is the healing nature of events like this. Is because when you lose somebody in your life, it's so hard. I mean, the grief that you carry is always there. But when you can give back in the community, when you can do something positive in memory of someone, it can kind of wrap that grief around a little bit of joy, a little bit about goodness. And that can be incredibly healing to be among other people coming in. I know one of my clients that she was active in the race every year, really just a beautiful spirit, and she passed away this year, sadly. So her husband came in the other day, and he had a check, and his daughter is running in the race this year in memory of her. And, you know, just the joy that, he had wrapped around that very raw grief, um, was then that vulnerability, I think, was very beautiful for me to witness, because it's part of the healing process. So even though some people are running for very different reasons, those are my favorite teams when I see, a whole family wrapped around, that grief and that memory and the joy of that person.
You know,
So
you mentioned that healing process. I'm going to give you a tangential story. One of my very, very close friends died unexpectedly on July 26th of 2024. Her name was Susan Coco, and she appeared on my shows a couple of times. And she was on our show about 3 months before she passed away. And we typically have a very small group of people, maybe 6 people, who have an annual New Year's Eve party, and we rotate houses, whatever. And of course, for January of 2025, Susan wasn't around to be at our house for that particular event. So we invited her 2 daughters.
mhm,
And so this year we didn't have Susan, but we had her daughters. And it was such an emotional thing. And you mentioned the word healing. It really felt good on the healing process to have her daughters there, who I've known since they were little kids. And it felt good. And P.S. We're going to get together to celebrate her uh, passing 1 year anniversary by going to my favorite restaurant, which would be Pepe's Pizza. So it's all a traditional. So when you mention healing, healing can be in many different ways, and the way you have healing through Anne's Place is significant.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have another family that, around the holidays, which can be really difficult for our clients, who are struggling with bereavement, they would put together a whole dinner for somebody who was financially constrained during the holidays and facing cancer. So by helping a family like them, they were able to remember the person that they lost, remember how hard it was losing that person, but also do something that was joyful in their name.
And hearing you talk about this lady who just passed away this year, I could hear in your voice. And one thing we've talked about, you and I, offline and online, and with some of your volunteers, that your staff, your people, your volunteers get close to the people who come to Anne's Place. And when you lose someone, it's hard on those volunteers and people in your organization. Talk a little bit about how you help the volunteers deal with losing someone who they've been with for a year or two.
Yeah, well, the staff and volunteers do so much. We have 18 paid staff, and then we have 36 pro bono staff. So we have different things that we do. The clinical team meets weekly, just to go over cases. How are you doing? Figure out if they have particular challenges, but also support each other. And then once a month, they have a program called Holding Space, where it's just for their own grief of lost clients. And they can come in, our volunteer staff as well as our paid staff can come and just kind of talk through that grief. We've started a memorial inside our little office so that we can kind of represent the clients that we've lost, that were meaningful to us. And I also have our volunteers that we've lost as well, because sometimes you work with people for years and it hurts. It doesn't matter whether they pass for cancer or something else. So we have that space that we can memorialize people in a meaningful way. We also do a yearly retreat for our whole staff, because we just need that time to heal. And last year we started up a new thing, which I wasn't so sure about, but I've actually come to really enjoy, the week off in July, to just kind of rest, relax, and come back to work refreshed and ready to help our clients.
And of course, Shannon Cobb is so selfless that this year I happen to know. I have a little bird that keeps all this information. I happen to know that this year she took her week off to do the other volunteer activity she's involved with, which was the Appalachian building projects. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. my
Um,
my week of rest was not really a week of rest,
so you
but
did.
it was a mental rest, Bob, because it took me away from the stresses of Anne's Place and put me in a whole different arena. Um,
So
so
instead of the French Riviera, you went to Appalachia, and I'll bet you the kind of person you are, and you're a wonderful person, is that what you said a moment ago, which is the good feelings of working with the people that you deal with in Appalachia makes you feel calm and relaxed, etc., and get you back renewed, because you were very invigorated when I had you on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah, giving back in any way to the community, volunteering to help other people. Our bodies are ingrained with that need to do that. And then when we act on it, it actually lets down endorphins, it heals emotional hurts. Um, the whole concept of giving back, there's a science behind it, and how healing it is. So I'm a big advocate for volunteering and getting involved in your community in any way possible.
And Shannon, because of the activities she did, and I did a show, as we mentioned, about the Appalachian Project, she invited me to a church service when they honored the people who were involved in the volunteer program. And of course, being Bobby O, I made a contact. We're going to have 4 of the kids on it's August 20th. We're going to have a show with 4 of the kids, high school age kids, who were on that trip. So Shannon Cobb, you're always helping others in one way or another. We appreciate that. And that's my segue into one of your other real fun activities, is the pageant, the fashion show. What's that all about?
Well, that's our April event, and we have local leaders in the community that raise money on behalf of Ann's Place, and then they model in these beautiful clothes. This last year we had elegant Ridgefield clothes, which are gorgeous, and they walk the runway at the Ridgefield Playhouse. We raise a lot of money. That's our second largest fundraiser of the year, after the Festival of Trees. And it's interesting. We have in the past we've had some of our models are also survivors themselves, and it's sort of brought us to a new event that we started last year called Through the Lens. That one's coming up in September, and that one will be very meaningful because it's all survivors, and local photographers are taking their photo, and we're blowing the photos up real big to sort of tell their story. And we did some last year that were just gorgeous, and the models themselves, all survivors from various different types of cancers, will get to come in for an event where we launch the photo series, and then the photo series tours throughout the area at different locations. So it's a really beautiful and very meaningful event. So that one will be September 30th at Southbury at the Heritage Hotel. So hopefully I can see you there, Bob.
Well, actually, I've gone to one of your fashion shows. I only went there to say hello to you and bring my guests in, but I didn't stay for the show. But I thought it was that most of the people, or all the people who were on this pageant, who walked on the aisle, were cancer survivors. I didn't realize there was other people as well. But on your program, that the Through the Lens, I'll make a commitment to you. If you have 3 or 4 people who are in that project and who get involved in that, if they want to come on a show and talk about their experiences, I would be happy to have that kind of show sometime after the Through the Lens, maybe in October. So if you get back to me on that, we'll do a show about that if they want to.
Wonderful. That sounds great. I'm sure I have a few of the models for that would love to be on your show.
Okay, I'll put it. That's on your shoulder. It's on you.
Right.
The last event I want to talk about, well, unless you want to talk about any other event, is the Festival of Trees.
Yes. I love the festival.
We have 4 minutes left, so you can use it all up if you like.
Well, believe it or not, we already have 35 people that have registered that they're going to be donating a tree for Festival of Trees. And I'm not even thinking of Christmas right now and the holidays, but 35 people already have their trees and their idea of what they're going to design all put together. So in the end, we will have 150 trees donated. These are artificial trees, and they're decorated in so many different ways. Some of them aren't even in trees. They're built out of metal and all kinds of creative materials. We had a paper one year that it was just gorgeous. So they're all different types of trees. And then we also have donated from the community about 80 raffle prizes, each one worth $100 and up. Really beautiful and wonderful products from the community. Everything from toys to a $1,000 Amazon card that we have out. And people can buy raffle tickets and put them into the trees they want to win, or if they don't want a tree, they can put them into the raffle prizes they want to win. And then there's entertainment in the community, different groups that come in and sing on the hour or dance. That is just a whole lot of fun. There's vendors and shopping to do. There's a whole children's area where they can make crafts. It's just a tremendous event. It takes 500 volunteers, Bob. So maybe you'll be volunteering at festival. I have
Well,
the
I'll tell
first
you what.
volunteer.
I'll tell you what. If I knew someone named Shannon Cobb who would do a little disco dancing, I might do a disco dance. Since I was disco dancer of the year when I was in law school, I actually did, and that's a semi-commitment to you. But I will say that I went one year. I think the lady's name was Christina O'Leary. Is that her? I know it's O'Leary. She was a comedian, and I think she performed
at our fashion show.
Right, and I think Rudy Marconi may have been honored or something that year. I think that's what it was. But anyway,
Oh, yes.
she was hysterical. Chris O'Leary was.
Yes. Yeah, you're going back to 2018, I believe. We honored Peggy and Rudy Marconi at the Festival of Trees. That was when we were in the hotel. Now we're at the summit, which really lets us spread out and have more trees to look at and more fun.
See, Shan, you learned something new about me today. I have an excellent memory, so you got to be careful, right? Because Bobby will remember. That was just a fun, and O'Leary was hysterical. Her jokes were for people over the age of 50, I think. No, by that I mean she had just hysterical. But I mean, it just shows how diverse the people are who contribute time, money, effort to your organization. Which when I keep a lot of praise on what you do and what the organization does, it's true. You do a great job, and I'm really honored to consider you to be a friend and how much you contribute to our community. And I want to thank you very much and get people to go. If you haven't signed up yet for the 5K walk, and that's people from my firm again, if you haven't signed up for that, we have a few more pictures, I think, but that's people from my firm. Those are some people who were, I guess, annual contributors to Ann's Place. And I think there's another picture. This was the winning team last year for there's a sort of a contest of who contributes the most money, and they won it. What organization was that? Do you remember, Shannon?
This is Heart and Soul. It's a family that lost a loved one, and they come back every year. They got the second or third place, I believe, in fundraising.
And this is the last photo. Another photo.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Shannon Cobb. I want to thank you so very much. And this is the last crew of people who see how much fun they're having. Shannon Cobb, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. Look forward to seeing you at the contest, not the contest, but at the run. And I owe you a cheeseburger. Take care. This is Bobby Potsner. Be well. Thank you, Shannon Cobb.